Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Eddie Marcus here again. Another effort of dropping a nugget on you, trying to inspire you to look within yourselves and find a hunger for a path that would lead you to the fulfillment of your dreams, to see them all come true. You know, it's amazing how people respond to certain subject matters. I was just thinking as I was looking through some history about some of the videos that I've posted. I see some videos that, to me, the message was basically directed to the hearts of men everywhere. And maybe 5 or 6 people might have clicked on it and wanted to know what it was about. And many of my videos are just like that. But take a moment and say something about winning the lottery, or something that can happen that can make your life as effective as if you have won the lottery. You can give maybe 300 or 400 people that would check that out, you know. But say something like the USA under the authority of Satan. Next thing you know, you got thousands wanting to know. Now you ask yourself, why are people so interested? Then you look at some of the remarks that are made. It's like people are looking for somebody to confirm what they themselves have already determined, that America has gone bazoo. And now somebody has a subject matter that might confirm it, so they want to check it out and see what, and then they say, wow, that's all right. I knew I was on the right path. But what does that say about the nation? It says what we have been saying all along. But these are just some of the subject matters that I'd like to bring and mention to you. Oh yes, and what I really wanted to say out of all of that is that every individual is responsible to every other individual. And now what I'm talking to you about right now is a different style of life than that you are familiar with. I'm telling you about a different power source, a different structure than what we are familiar with. I'll explain that a little bit later. But in this particular plan, we are responsible to one another for our peace. We're responsible for one another for our prosperity, for our joy, for our freedom. We are responsible to one another for these things and allowing for the fulfillment of each and every last one of our dreams. You see, the reason that we have to be so merciful to one another and so loving to one another is because we were born into the world innocent. We didn't bring any of this with us. We were primed, ready to learn the principles of life and find our role in life and engage and be a physical manifestation of the beauty of a power that we can't see, but we find ourselves obedient to, and it allows us to be free, to have joy. And so this is what this particular whole mission is all about, because it's not happening anywhere else. And so the reason that we don't allow this is because we come into a world that is so different than that. And immediately, our environment and all of the things we are connected to brings us up and directs our lives just as sure as it directs the language that we speak, as it directs all of the cultural values that we accept as our own. It also, my friends, without a shadow of doubt, plays a role in who we have become. And we are who we have become. Now, since we are all flawed, since we are all brought up in this darkness, and we are all dark, How is it that a power that is so magnificent that we call God and invisible, that we follow, how can that message get brought to a world of darkness? Well, ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers, my friends, the only way I can speak it to you is how it was spoken to me. Every now and then, there are miracles. You might ask yourself, who are the most that are familiar with the reality and the existence of God? Some of you might say, well, my pastor. Why? Some of you might say, my preacher. Why? Some of you might fill in the blank with your bishop, your friar, whatever organizational heads you might want to fill in there. But the question is, why? But there are some, my friends, where there, no doubt, no question, they have a familiarity with the existence of God. And they are those who have experienced a miracle. Now, here's what happened with the miracle for those of you who have never, ever experienced a miracle, but you got some idea of what it would take for you to say, yes, that was a miracle. Well, it took the same thing for the ones who experienced a miracle to accept it. It was something that was so magnificent that no human being on the face of the earth could have dealt with it, could have done nothing for it. In fact, wouldn't even be aware of it. No human being at all, an individual or a whole collective of all individuals could never have done what is done. Now, you receive a miracle. What does that say? No more doubting about God. You don't need to hear somebody read to you about a God in a book. You can read a book or study a book if you want to. But you don't have to rely on what somebody else is saying to you about God based upon what they read, heard, or studied. You know there's a God. But it doesn't stop there, ladies and gentlemen. You can't brag that God revealed, exposed himself to you, and that you know God and think that that's it, because you will not. At least, I hope you don't think that's it. Because to whom much is given, much is required. What were you given? Now, it depends upon how the miracle and what kind of miracle you received. Basically, the miracle and the area of importance that that miracle occurred would determine what that miracle was all about and how it can be recognized by the one who received the miracle. It's not really about anybody else but the one who received the miracle. You can share it with other people. They're not going to believe it. That's why it's not even important that you share it. You can. But it's only important to the one that received the miracle. Now that you know this, my friends, and yesterday you didn't know it, here, for those of you who was given back your life, in other words, you would have been dead. You would not be here had it not been for the miracle that occurred. Maybe you were sick and a miracle occurred for you. Maybe you were dead and a miracle occurred to you. Or maybe you were in the hands of death and a miracle occurred to you. And whatever it was, nobody can understand it but you. A miracle. Now, in certain instances, if you had to do with some physical stuff and you were dealing with doctors, maybe the doctors can affirm that, yeah, it was a miracle. But that's not what is required. The only thing that's required is that you know. And because you have been given back your life, it's really not to go on as business as usual. No, brother. You can't go on business as usual. What is required of you now is to that knowledge of the reality of God. You got that. And what did this miracle do for you? If it gave you life for people who don't want to die, excuse me, if it gave you back your life for people who don't want to die, it's about one of the best things that could have ever happened to you. You probably call it no greater love than giving you back your life. But now that you got this life, now that you know that there's no greater love, your brothers and sisters, just like you were yesterday, have no idea of the reality of that. They go to church, they hear people talk about it. They hear people talk about what it was in biblical days. They keep getting these stories over and over and over again. But it has no real significant meaning to them. But it does to you. It is you who know that God exists. These other folks don't know that God exists. If they did, they would be doing what now you are about to do. And that's to let the light of God shine in these places of darkness by dealing with the problems that they have, the suffering that they have, the pains that they have to go through. Be to them in this moment, in their moment, what God was to you in that moment. Be a miracle to them. All of us, my friends, all of us being miracles to one another, to wipe out any virus that we have accepted, not knowing any better. But now, because we can see the love of God for you by those who have been spared, by those who have been given a glimpse of God, now allowing that God to shine through them by addressing your problems and making life better for you because God cares. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Seeing God, the miracles, yes, it has a magnificent effect on everybody. Everybody. Now, you might not have to receive a miracle like the ones that I'm referred to now have, but when you can see people who are coming to your rescue, people who are coming responding to your needs, you call them angels. Now you don't have to be drowning in some car, can't get out, and first responders come and get you. Now they're going to call them angels. But when you can't pay your bills, when your children can't get health care, and that problem gets solved, that's an angel. And how wonderful it is when it's solved for you, but not only you, but everybody else just like you. Now you know that's angelic. So this is what we're talking about. Looking out for one another and how it is required in many instances. It must be required in all instances, otherwise God wouldn't be doing it. It's revealing. You remember the story of Moses? Y'all remember the message that you got from TV and maybe something that you might have read in the scriptures? Moses heard a lot after he found out who he really was, based upon the story that we've all been taught. He heard a lot, but it's just something that he had heard. This man came from authority as far as growing up, knew how it works. But now he's hearing something about some authority that's greater than the authority where he has been exposed to. Oh, who is this? But he was curious. He wanted to know. There was something about the story that he heard that caused him to act in some different kind of ways, which was probably something natural, like we all have that natural tendency from birth until we get it corrupted. And so he listened and listened. And you heard the story about he heard some voice up on a mountain one day. Got his curiosity. You know how nosy people are. You know how people will be curious and get into some strange situations. So here's this guy climbing upside this mountain and get on top of this mountain and hear something. Can you imagine a voice speaking? Now, you can imagine it, but it's nothing like it's really happening. Okay? It's happening. And the voice speaks to him, telling him what to do, takes command of the situation, and speaking as through a burning bush that will not be consumed. Now, anybody know that anything that got some fire on it come burn up. It's not going to be hanging around if I don't play. But this bush was just sitting there still burning. Had to be a miracle. He says it's a miracle. It's a miracle. Ooh-wee. I was tricked. I lived a life of luxury. I lived a life of power. I abused. I did everything that everybody else was doing, only to find out that all of that stuff was in opposition to the truth of life. And now I find out that the power of all powers that you can't see. So I don't have to yield to no other power except the power that has revealed itself to me. And wow, he came off that mountain not like the man who went up there. So for those of you who have seen God's hand, who lives because of God's hand, yeah, like Moses, you owe yourself to God. You can't be running right here acting crazy, acting like you just want to have some fun. I mean, you have some fun taking care of business. You got people out here who need you. Our nation is going crazy right about now. I mean, we really are. People trying to teach you that lying is the truth, that some people above the law, they can get away with anything. Oh man, it's going crazy around here. And who is going to clear this message? Who is going to deliver the truth message to the people of darkness? The people who are on the side of supporting the worst side, or the people that's on the other side supporting the side that's worse but not as worse. Now, what if anybody want to support the truth? What if somebody wants to support the truth? Well, if you do, you go to the polls in November, and when they're asking for who you want to be president, some Republican or some Democrat, you write in Eddie Marcus, EDDIE Marcus. And by so doing, you are saying that you want to represent yourself. Write in my name, and that indicates that you want to represent yourself. My goodness. All of you. And our goals and our objectives are how to create heaven right here on earth in the most wonderful, the most fantastic, the most beautiful way that only the spirit of what we do not see, can't touch, can't feel, but becomes alive in us and gives us direction of how to manifest. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. And it seems as if you should be smart enough to figure that out, but you can't, especially if you haven't received a miracle. But if you have received a miracle, you should be able to figure that out. And it would seem, I would think, that some of the guys who've been presidents and who've been heads of universities and been in Congress and played major roles in the lives of people and say they were actually genuine, when you hear this message, I can't understand why you can't not embrace this message. I can't understand why you can't use the vehicles that you have at your disposal to carry a message forward about life, the newness of life, the truth, my friends, that will set us all free. Take away the bondage, take away the lying, take away the troubles, take away the killing, take away the wars, take away the haves and the have-nots, because everybody is living heavenly and every dream is being met. So, ladies and gentlemen, consider what I've said to you. This is a nugget just to let you know how wonderful what you have not known is. so you can consider it. Until next time, this is Eddie Marcus saying thank you and goodbye.